All right, good afternoon. Welcome to our distinguished guests here. On my right, we have the Vice President of the European Parliament, Yunus Omarjee. He's coming from Réunion, so very well, he knows very well the challenges of the OMR programs, and maybe even some of those 59 countries that they need to cooperate. He's also the former chair of the Regi committee, so for sure Interreg is very well known to him. And not least, he's a signatory of the Stories of Cooperation, which is the Interreg/ABR publication on youth participation in Interreg. So, thank you very much. Then we have Jan Szyszko, the State Secretary in the Polish Ministry for, let me get it right, for the Development Funds and Regional Policy. So,
points to you, yes.
Yeah. And he represents, of course, Poland, but as well the country that is the Council presidency. So we definitely hope for some good reflection from the Council here. And last but not least, Mr. Juraj Droba, which is the Vice President of the Kotter Commission, so representing the European Committee of the Regions. In all the future debate, we hear the voices that the regions need to be involved. They're already involved. There are thousands of regions actually implementing Interreg programs, so definitely they have their place here. But he's also president of the Bratislava region, so definitely he has his experience, regional experience here. And the Bratislava region hosts Interact program. So in a way, he's a president of Interact as well. Welcome. Right. This process has started 1.5 years ago in October 2023 in Santiago de Compostela. I like to use this symbolism of the reflection, okay? Because for 1.5 years we did this reflection. Well, you did it, a lot of Interreg programs, 15,000 stakeholders were involved, some 6,000 citizens, also Europeans, contributed to this process. I'm sure some of it was spiritual, you know. Today Jean-Pierre said that he's blessed to be part of it. I think the intervention by Commissioner Kos was very emotional. I got goosebumps. And I think Interreg is like this. Interreg, we talk about bringing people together, but we don't only stay there. Today we got examples from Moldova, not even an EU country that is solving emergency service for some 50 to 80,000 people. So very good concrete results. David just gave us a very good reflection on actually evaluation-based, so evidence-based examples. What Interreg contributes to. So we've done all the process, 1.5 years, and if we still stay in the symbolism of Camino de Compostela, today we are actually in the big chapel of the Santiago to close the process and consolidate all the reflection. And of course we did all this process so that we can actually contribute to the future discussion, and here definitely we have the right institutions to consolidate and take them with them these reflections. So to just kick off the reflection, we have a short question with a 1-minute answer to all of our panelists, just to kick off the discussion. In principle, we should have 1 minute there on the screen, but yes, I'll keep the time. Now, keeping in mind the Europe's challenges and taking into account the messages from the consultation, what is the biggest opportunity? And we want it to be positive, so the opportunity and the role for Interreg in the future. So if I could have Vice President Omarjee to kick off the reflection. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Tout d'abord, je veux vous dire que ma présence dit l'attachement très fort du Parlement européen au programme Interreg. Et j'ai écouté les débats ce matin et je veux vraiment féliciter l'ensemble des directeurs de programme parce que c'est sur eux que repose la bonne mise en œuvre et la pleine vitalité d'Interreg. Oui, le Parlement européen est très attaché à Interreg. Nous portons la co-responsabilité d'Interreg pour 2021-2027 et j'ai eu l'honneur de présider à la négociation d'Interreg pour la programmation. Et nous nous sommes battus pour les avancées qui ont été soulignées ce matin et nous nous sommes battus également pour avoir un budget qui permette de réaliser nos objectifs. Et il est évident que le Parlement européen sera au rendez-vous du combat, d'abord du combat budgétaire, parce que c'est le nerf de la guerre et il ne sera pas possible d'avoir une programmation 2028-2034 si nous n'avons pas les moyens budgétaires. Donc le Parlement européen sera présent pour la défense d'un vrai budget qui permette d'avancer. La deuxième chose, la deuxième remarque que je veux faire, c'est que depuis ce matin, à aucun moment, je n'ai entendu prononcer le mot Schengen. Bon. Sauf que c'est l'anniversaire également des 30 ans de Schengen. L'Union européenne s'est construite sur l'abaissement des frontières et nous voyons aujourd'hui, ici et là, parfois, des frontières se rétablir. De même que nous voyons aujourd'hui, et la commissaire à l'élargissement l'a bien dit, c'est dans les têtes qu'il faut faire tomber les frontières. Et nous voyons aujourd'hui le nationalisme, les idées nationalistes qui sont rebondissantes dans un certain nombre de pays européens et dans un certain nombre de têtes. Et c'est pourquoi toutes les batailles que nous menons doivent être supportées aussi par les batailles politiques pour continuer à faire prospérer cette idée qu'évidemment, il n'y a pas de frontières possibles pour l'avancée des idées communes qui nous rassemblent et des valeurs de l'Union européenne. Et ces valeurs, précisément, elles sont le plus merveilleusement et le plus clairement exprimées à travers la coopération transfrontalière. Donc voilà en propos liminaire.
Merci. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Vice-President. I think it is obvious that we have a big ambassador of Interreg and the cooperation values here on the stage. Hopefully it won't be only a battle, but as well cooperation when we get to that. Thank you. Jan Šiško.
Thank you very much. I couldn't agree more that more funding needs to go hand in hand with more values and promoting European values. And Interreg is a great instrument for that. So answering your question, we've just been through receiving 1,200 surveys from the inhabitants of the regions beneficiaries of Interreg in Poland, and also 1,000 surveys from the stakeholders in those regions. And as many of you know, Poland is in a very unique situation of having a border with Russia and its satellite state Belarus, and also bordering an external European Union border with Ukraine. And people from those regions are saying Interreg is great, but and the but is it needs more predictable, strong financing in the future. It needs to better support our security in the region, and also when we speak competitiveness, those people often feel that competitiveness is not yet understood as they're part of it. And they really need to be part of Europe's competitiveness, which means programs such as Interreg also need to support, to attract businesses to those regions that need to provide subsidies and build infrastructure to make those regions just attractive and to have them grow, because the choice is simple. We either invest in those regions' prosperity, or we're going to have to spend into rescuing those regions from poverty and from falling behind. This is a very simple choice we are facing, and Interreg is a good investment answer for that.
Thank you, Mr. Shishko. And Mr. Drova.
I'll take my 1 minute. Good afternoon. It's great to be here on behalf of the Committee of Regions. Interreg is very close to my heart because I'm running Bratislava region, which has a unique geographical location on the border of 3 countries, Austria, Hungary, and Slovakia. So Interreg has been very instrumental and very helpful to us over the past 20 years in getting the citizens closer together. And it feels kind of similar than being in Nova Gorica and Gorizia. Very similar. There has been an Iron Curtain run right across the cities and right across the small regions. The same with us and Austria. So if I should present the position of the Committee of Regions, we are definitely in favor of the strong cohesion policy and strong European territorial cooperation, because it's really key to the territorial cohesion. And Interreg is definitely one of the most important tools for strengthening the single market and also showing the beautiful face of the European Union to the accession countries when they see how people-to-people cooperation not far from the border is really instrumental in getting our nations closer together.
Thank you very much. If you continue in this spirit, there won't be any fights, I can see. Thank you.
Thank you also for very strong introduction messages. You're making our job much easier now. But let's dive a little bit more into the topic. I would like to start with you, Mr. Omarjee. You mentioned already political importance of Interreg, and this is something which is often very much underestimated. How can European Parliament help us in these very turbulent times of Euroscepticism, global tensions? How can European Parliament help us put Interreg on the political stage and provide more financing?
D'abord, nous avons déjà apporté une contribution très concrète. Et vous avez entendu ce matin mon collègue Sandro Gozzi en parler, en trouvant une solution pour relancer le règlement sur les obstacles juridiques que tout le monde attendait, le règlement ECBM. Je dois dire que ce règlement, la relance de ce règlement n'avançait pas, aussi bien du côté de la Commission que du Conseil. Et il a fallu la volonté politique très forte de la commission régie pour que nous puissions lever un certain nombre d'obstacles et aujourd'hui avancer. Donc ça, c'est une contribution très, très concrète du Parlement européen et nous en sommes très fiers. À présent, nous sommes à un moment où c'est une bataille générale qui va être engagée pour consolider la politique de cohésion pour la future programmation. Et le devenir d'Interreg, évidemment, est lié à l'avenir de notre politique de cohésion. Donc, c'est un tout, et cette bataille, elle sera menée, j'en suis convaincu, par le Parlement européen, qui est très attaché aux principes qui ont été affirmés ce matin, à savoir une politique de cohésion qui reste une politique régionale, une politique de cohésion qui reste une politique territorialisée, une politique de cohésion qui reste ancrée sur ses valeurs fondamentales. Et c'est dans ce cadre-là que Interreg doit évoluer, car la dénaturation de la politique de cohésion finira par emporter, je crois, en finalité, un certain nombre de programmes très vertueux et en particulier le programme Interreg. Donc c'est un tout et je suis très confiant sur la détermination de notre Parlement européen pour sauvegarder ces principes fondamentaux de la politique de cohésion, étant en accord également avec ce que le vice-président Fitto ce matin indiqué, à savoir que la défense statique de notre politique conduira à sa mort certaine. Donc nous devons évoluer, nous devons réformer notre politique dans le sens d'une plus grande performance, dans le sens des objectifs de compétitivité, mais en maintenant évidemment une architecture qui permette évidemment de satisfaire aux objectifs de cohésion et de cohésion territoriale. Permettez-moi également de vous dire deux mots sur les régions ultra-périphériques. Nous en avons parlé ce matin. Nous serons avec le vice-président Fitto la semaine prochaine, je crois, à l'île de Mayotte et à l'île de la Réunion. Et la valeur d'Interreg dans l'océan Indien est extraordinaire. Et elle va sans doute bien au-delà de ce qu'on peut imaginer ici. Elle répond aussi à un certain nombre de principes que nous posons aujourd'hui pour l'influence de l'Union européenne dans des zones du monde qui ont une importance stratégique considérable. Je pense à l'Indo-Pacifique et l'océan Indien en particulier, et les programmes de coopération transfrontaliers que nous pouvons faire avancer avec Madagascar, par exemple, l'une des plus grandes îles du monde, ou avec les Comores ou les Seychelles, ont pour l'Union européenne une valeur qui est considérable. Il en est de même aujourd'hui en Amérique latine ou dans la Caraïbe, à travers la coopération mise en œuvre par la Martinique, la Guyane ou la Guadeloupe dans l'Amérique du Sud. Donc, voilà, la politique de cohésion, Interreg, contribue également à des objectifs qui sont bien plus larges que ceux que nous pouvons parfois évoquer.
Thank you very much. And I think I can speak on behalf of all of us in this room that you can count on our support.
Now, we're moving to the second question for Mr. Shishko. Now, during the past 5 years, Europe faced a number of crises. Polish indirect programs were particularly impacted by the Russian aggression on Ukraine. How do you consider the Interreg response to this crisis, and what role does Interreg play in scope of external relations slash cooperation? Now, we also profit again from the presidency of Poland, and we also would like to hear what are the key points that you're bringing for actually tomorrow's council. So it's very fresh. So these two questions. Thank you.
Yeah, great timing for the second question, that's right. So there's a cohesion gag tomorrow for those of you who are not aware, with conclusions hopefully adopted also tomorrow after the gag regarding the financing and the cohesion policy. It's with no doubt that we are living in a different world than we were living 5 years ago, and this is what EVP Fitto has been saying in his opening remarks today. That is very, very fitting. The priorities of 2019 and 2020 are no longer always as valid as they were in the past. At the same time, we have experienced new geopolitical challenges, some of them very new, and some of them with us for a couple of years, that strike very difficult and bold questions into Europe's investment priorities and what we should focus on. It was always Europe's strength to be able to adjust in the moments of truth, and this is the moment to use the strength again. So the one takeaway, and something the Polish presidency will be saying, and is saying already, is the fact that the age of globalism is over. The age of Europe focusing solely on excelling the internal competitiveness is over. We have to focus on making Europe cohesive and competitive externally as well, or in relation to external economic actors. And that's a fact, and that needs to be reflected in the way we invest European funding. At the same time, the second message that we will want to say is that competitiveness and cohesion are not rivalry to each other. They are, they fill each other together, they work together, and we will only be competitive as Europe if we will be cohesive. If we are not cohesive, we are gonna be facing a very wide range of political, social, and economic difficulties that will not allow for a strong competitive Europe. The conclusion of that thought is the fact that Europe will be competitive if it invests in all of its regions and the development of all of its regions, if it focuses and develops the big companies as well as the small and medium companies, and finds and strikes the balance between those investments and adjusts the rules, and also manages to be smartly or intelligently protectionist when that's needed against unfair competition from third states, and that's something that needs to be very much taken into account in the way that cohesion policy is invested as well from our perspective, and that's something that we are going to focus on. The third message that I hope that and I think that we will try to share, being very aligned with the European Commission, and I would like to very much thank Commissioner Fitto for the cooperation so far and the amount of effort put in to deliver changes needed for now, that in the light of the economic and geopolitical challenges that Europe is facing, we need an ambitious midterm review now, not only changes that will happen post-2027. And those changes need to preserve the core principles, such as the shared management and such as the fundamental independent feeling of decentralized investment decision-making in cohesion policy and European growth policy, speaking further. But at the same time, this midterm review should give us all a feeling that the rules for investing funds in Europe and the priorities set for those investments are fit for purpose and fit for the times that we're living in, which I don't think is always the impression at the moment across the continent. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shishko. Good luck tomorrow.
Mr. Draba, you were Vice President of the Koter Commission and the President of Bratislava Self-Governing Region, and that means you're at the heart of what local and regional actors are contributing to Interreg. And we heard that many of them are still complaining about administrative burden for Interreg. They're complaining about lack or not sufficient support, political engagement on the national level, or problems with sustaining long-term cooperation. So how do you propose that we can strengthen the role of regions and cities in shaping Interreg priorities in the future?
Thank you for the question. I think that the cooperation is actually the essence of, or the DNA of the European Union, and how we can make it simpler. This is more of a technical question, but I'm definitely in favor of very simplified rules, because sometimes good projects get turned down just because they hit the glass ceiling of bureaucracy, and this is something that we should all work on to make the process more simple. One other thing is that although Interreg is not designed for defense purposes, the current global situation will drive and shape on how we look at Interreg as well. And I don't know if this is fortunate or unfortunate, but the situation and the stance of the United States towards the European defense will have to change the way how we think at some of the projects which are meant to be development projects. As far as the future of Interreg, I think that there are 4 golden principles that we should go by: place-based solutions, partnership, and multi-level governance and also shared management. This all makes the projects more international and better thought out and better executed. On this, I just want to say thank you to the team of Petra Masacova, who is in Bratislava and running Interact very well. So Petra, thank you. I think this is helping the Interreg to be successful as well. And last but not least, what we need is really a better single market, better competitiveness for the European Union. And we as regions and cities need to sit at the table where the decisions are being made about the future, because at the end of the day, we are the boots on the ground which make things happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think I can take a moment to thank on Petra's behalf for kind words for the Interact team. We're here for you. I think we can also thank you for keeping up with the time, because we are just perfect. And I would like to thank you for the honor to moderate this very important session for takeaways. I think that your reflections are very useful and also underline the importance of Interreg for European cooperation, for the stability, democracy, and European values that we all share across regions, across countries, and also outside of the EU. And now I would like to actually turn our attention towards the perspective of European Commission. And we would like to hear the messages about the future of Interreg and future of cooperation. What is our path forward? And it is my privilege to invite Mr. Raffaele Fitto, Executive Vice President for Cohesion and Reforms, to take the stage and give us concluding remarks. Thank you once again.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank all presents here today, and for me it's important to speak about the point that you debated today. Dear Vice President Yunus Marje, for me it's a great pleasure to be here with you today, because we worked in the last years together in the Committee of Regions, in the Regi Committee, sorry, and I know how is important your role now as Vice President of European Parliament, and I know that will be possible to work together. The same approach, the same position I would like to underline with the Secretary of State Schizo, and I want to thank him and the Polish presidency, because we are working very positive and very well. At the same time, I want to would like to thank the Vice President of the Coter. And I remember that many years ago, I was president of the Coter Committee in the Committee of Regions, and I know how is important the role of the Committee of Regions. We have many positions in favor of cohesion and Interreg, but I believe that it's important to build a single voice to support in the next months, in the next years, cohesion policy and Interreg in particular. It's important because I think that it's fundamental to work together. And today I heard many points, very positive, many contributions, and I want to thank you for your fruitful discussion and suggestions. Without repeating what the rapporteurs already mentioned, I would like to conclude with a few key messages. First of all, cooperation is the founding value of Europe, and the mission of Interreg is cooperation. Cooperation is also the key to understanding the Draghi and the Letta reports. And our Interreg is active in both contexts for the cities, but also for the rural and areas. We can learn a lot from the experience with Interreg, and we can build on this experience. But we must improve coordination between EU and the national instruments, integrating funding to maximize impact. Second, there is room for more cooperation on our external borders. In candidate countries who are gaining first-hand experience of how EU works in the outermost regions, as Yunus said, where we can cooperate in areas that are strategic to our interest. In the Mediterranean, where Interreg involves almost all the countries, and where it can play a bigger role in fostering that are key to peace and stability. In the current geopolitical context, we must also focus on supporting EU eastern border regions. These regions have been confronted with new challenges as a consequence of war in Ukraine. They face depopulation, lack of economic opportunities, and negative business perception. At the very beginning of my mandate as Executive Vice President with this responsibility, I visited many member states, and I visited Finland, and I visited L'Apparanta by the 1,340-kilometer borderline to Russia. I saw the impact of the closure of the border, the economic downturn, and the concern over security. Simply put, we cannot afford to let these regions experience economic and social decline, not just out of solidarity, but also of our common security. And when I say our, I mean that there is not a Finnish border, or, for example, Polish border, or in general Baltic borders. We have European borders. This is the message, and this is the approach that for us it's fundamental to have. This is one of the areas where our reflection on the midterm review are very timely. As I mentioned earlier, we need to reflect on how to modernize cohesion policy. Modernization needs to take into account also the new geopolitical realities. This brings me to my third point, also on Interreg. We need to have broader reflection on the future and where there is most potential for more cooperation. One way is getting closer to citizens and local communities, but we must also support strategic cross-border initiatives for public services. These are one of the keys to attracting and retaining talents and businesses, because the lack of access to proper education, transport, or health infrastructure often triggers the decision to migrate. I understand that cooperation in these areas is often difficult because of administrative obstacles. I firmly believe that our new bridge for EU regulation, which will soon be in place, will be a step forward. This regulation will improve contacts between authorities in border regions to facilitate practical cooperation. Finally, as I have already said earlier today, we need to take steps to modernize cohesion policy. These objectives are crucial for the future of cohesion policy. The best way to relaunch the policy is to modernize it. And Interreg is no exception. This modernization of delivery will improve the quality of cooperation. Discussion today has been a good start, but it is only a start. I will be happy to continue working with you, and I want to thank you very much for your presence, for your contribution, and for our works in the next months. We'll start tomorrow with an important debate in the Council, but we'll continue probably in the next week with the first proposal, with the communication and some legislative changes about the midterm review of the current programs. This is a strong and clear message. It will be fundamental to anticipate this debate. It's impossible to wait the debate for the next MFF in this situation. It's fundamental to anticipate and using the midterm review to change the many points that we have in these programs. I said before in my introduction this morning that we have a big problem with the current programs because the current programs, 21-27, were discussed from 2019 to 2021 and were signed in 2022, but are starting now. It's impossible to go in this way. It's fundamental to adapt the current programs at the new priorities that we have. This is our work, and I hope, but I'm sure that will be possible to work together in this way to achieve an important goal for the future of cohesion policy and Interreg. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raffaele, Fitto. Thank you very much for your candid comments, and I think we all appreciate that we need to modernize and adapt. And I'd also like to thank our eminent speakers here. Thank you so much for your messages, and also for our fantastic moderators. Big round of applause, please. Thank you.